This is the Allen and Heath Q24 desk. This is what we use to gather all our sound and mix it all together. Across the top is all of our pre-fade settings. So it's our preamp or our gain control for the inputs, a high pass filter just down here. We have our parametric EQs at the top. We've got our low frequencies, low mids, and high frequencies. Going from top to bottom, we've got our width, our frequency itself, and then the gain. We have our gate, our compressor controls, our graphic equalizer, and our pan controls. Along the bottom of this window, we have the function control. We have copy, paste, resets. We also have a little scroller here. Down the side of this touchscreen, we also have our processing button, routing button, our home screen, effects screens, scenes screens, and setup screens. We have a talkback microphone just on top, which we can use to PA to the studio, and this is controlled from up here. With a pan, this allows us to pan the channel left and right. If it's sitting to one side, it's mainly going to come out of the left-hand side, or mainly going to come out of the right-hand side of the speakers and your program mix. This section just over here on the board is our soft keys. So we've set up a couple of actions on these soft keys. So a soft key essentially like perform a couple of actions simultaneously. So I want to clear the pre-fades. So press that and it will clear the any pre-fade listeners I've got selected across the board. These are all our channel strips. They're separated out into individual channels. Some of them are linked because they serve as a stereo pair. Across the top of the channel strips is our mutes. Across the middle of that is our select buttons. Down the bottom is our PAFL or pre-fade listen. We also have layers on this desk. If I switch to my layers, we can access things like our stereo channels, our FX returns and sends, our group FX returns and sends, and also our mix masters. On the right hand side of our desk, this is where our master out is. It's got the mute, we've got the select, pre-fade listen, and then we have our mix selects. So we have our left and right mix, which in our case is our program mix. We then have mix 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 and 6 is a pair, 7 and 8 is a pair, and 9 and 10 is a pair. You might see that these are highlighted slightly differently by different colours. This means that it's actually a mono mix out. So mix 1 is a mono mix, and then the darker blue is a stereo mix. So the reason why we have these different mixes is for different reasons. We have an in-ear mic mix on mix 1. So we may not want to send the radio mics back to the presenters in ear because that could become slightly confusing. On the Skype channel, for example, in our program mix, this may be a lot higher, but we want the level to go to the in-ear mic a little bit lower. To get a input from, for example, a radio mic. So we need to turn the microphone on. So I'm just going to clip the doors open and then I'm going to hold the on button down. Firstly, we select the channel that we want the radio mic to go to. Now, we actually have this plugged in and routed already to channel 1. Before we fade any of the faders, we need to select pre-fade listen, and then the monitor just up here, or the DBVU, will be showing what our levels are coming in at. It's also a good idea to have headphones on at this point as well. Now we can already see on the channel strip itself that there's a signal light. So this is showing us that there is something actually coming into the desk. If I turn the gain all the way down on the preamp, I just scratch the microphone, you'll see that that signal is still coming in. So the scratch test is a good way to see whether your microphone is actually connected to the desk. So we've established that we've got a signal coming in. What do we do next? Well, the next thing we want to do is select our input gain to come up to around the sort of -3 to 0. I'm going to have the microphone next to my mouse. Test, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. Test, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Different people's voices are going to vary. People will kind of speak at different volumes, so it's a good idea to get them to speak for a little while. Next stage, I want to go along to my high pass filter. I'm going to click in on my high pass filter, and on my PEQ display, or my parametric equalizer display, you should see a purple bar highlight. Probably the best frequency that we could have for a speech is around sort of 120 to 140 hertz. On my parametric equalizer, I'm going to put that on, and across the frequency display you'll see that there's different colours. So my green is my low frequency, my light blue is my low mid frequency, my high mid is my dark blue frequency, and my high frequency is my red coloured dot. There's then the option for the middle set of dials to change the frequency. I can then adjust my width across the top using these. So if I twist right, it's going to tighten that width. If I twist left, it's going to extend the range of that width. You're going to need to change this for different people's voices. So some people might have like a slightly bassier voice, and you may need to cut out some of the bass. So we'd use a cut on that. And then with some people, they may have quite a kind of high-pitched or higher toned voice. So you may need to cut out some of the higher frequencies and some of the high mids frequencies, just to even their voice off, so that they don't sound too tinny and they don't sound too bassy. So this is where I can start sending to my mix. So on my left and right mix, I want to make sure that my left and right mix is set to around 0. With my channel fader, I want to start pushing this up. If I want something kind of quieter in the mix, I can just change my fader and bring it down in the mix slightly. It is quite good with vocals as well, just to know that if someone's speaking particularly loud and you want to quickly fade them, you can fade the mix down. What happens if I want to send a channel to a different mix? So for example, we have a Skype call coming in. If we wanted to send the radio mics through to that mix, we would need to select the mix that we want to send it to. First, if I press the mix 9 and 10, which is our Skype mix, you'll see that these channel faders are actually already up. So if I wanted to take them out, I'd just take the channel faders down, making sure that my master fader is up to 0. I can then start putting the channels that I want to send through to that mix. So this is particularly useful for separating between your program mix and your individual mix outs. So for example, on the Skype call or any kind of OB call, you wouldn't want to send the OB or the Skype mix back to them, because it's then going to create that kind of feedback loop where they're hearing themselves and they're hearing the program mix.